Taiwan president says peace, only option to resolve political differences. Oil surges as Israel conflict reignites Middle East volatility. International community divided on response to Hamas attack on Israel. Afghanistan, race to find survivors after quakes kill over 2,000. Hamas official says group is open to discussions over truce with Israel. The U.S. to send a second aircraft carrier group to the Middle East. Israel's central bank sells $30 billion in foreign reserves to save shekel. Nobel Economics Prize goes to Harvard's Claudia Goldin.
Hello, I'm Wade Lee. Thank you for joining us on Funday News. It is Wednesday, October 11th, and here are your top stories. Taiwanese President Tsai Ing-wen said Tuesday peace between Taiwan and China is the only option, while strongly asserting the Republic of China's defense against PRC's threat to invade. Tsai said in a National Day address that the international community views stability in the Taiwan Strait as an indispensable component of global security and prosperity. She added, "Let me reiterate that peace is the only option across the Taiwan Strait."
作为总统，我的责任就是守护国家主权，守护2300万台湾人民民主自由的生活方式，同时寻求两岸之间可以和平共处，人民之间可以自由而无拘束、无负担的往来。
Tsai noted, maintaining the status quo, as the largest common denominator for all sides, is the critical key to ensuring peace. She said, neither side can unilaterally change the status quo. Differences across the strait must be resolved peacefully. Tsai also referred to Taiwan's recent launch of a home-built submarine as a major breakthrough in efforts to re-energize the domestic arms industry. She said, "We took a big step forward in our national defense self-sufficiency and further enhanced the asymmetric capabilities of our military."
Oil prices surged after a shock attack on Israel by Hamas brought renewed instability to the Middle East. U.S. crude futures settled above $86 a barrel, at a point rallying 5.4%. Citigroup said the hostility reduced expectations that Saudi Arabia will cut or eliminate its 1 million barrel a day of output curbs. Morgan Stanley said that they thought the impact of the conflict would be limited. Societe Generale SA said heightened geopolitical tension could add a $5 to $10 risk premium to crude prices.
Bloomberg reported the bloody outbreak threatens to embroil both the U.S. and Iran. Iran has become a major source of extra crude this year, alleviating otherwise tightening markets, but additional American sanctions on Tehran could constrain those shipments. Any retaliation against Tehran could endanger the passage of vessels through the Strait of Hormuz, a vital conduit that transports much of the world's crude, which the Iranian government previously threatened to close. Iran denied on Monday that it was involved in the assault.
International reaction to Hamas's shocking offensive into southern Israel and Israeli aerial bombardment of Gaza in response have been revealing the distinct views of the conflict around the world. In Western capitals, Hamas was to blame for a terrorist attack, and statements from the US, EU, UK, Italy, and France repeated the line that Israel has the right to defend itself. Meanwhile, Russia, China, Turkey, the African Union, and the UAE have all urged de-escalation and a swift return to international-backed peace talks.
Most of these Western countries' statements failed to mention the escalation in Israeli settler violence in the occupied West Bank, or tensions in Al-Aqsa Mosque, and the hundreds of civilians killed in Gaza in airstrikes this year. Meanwhile, many of these non-Western countries say they're ready to ramp up diplomatic efforts to mediate the crisis, insisting that talks on a two-state solution that delivered for the peaceful coexistence of Israel and Palestine is the only way forward once hostilities are terminated.
Men dug through rubble with their bare hands and shovels in western Afghanistan Sunday in desperate attempts to pull victims from the wreckage left by a powerful earthquake that killed at least 2,000 people. A government spokesperson said Sunday that hundreds were still trapped, more than 1,000 hurt, and more than 1,300 homes destroyed. Saturday's magnitude 6.3 earthquake hit a densely populated area near Herat. It was followed by strong aftershocks.
The U.S. Geological Survey said the quake's epicenter was about 40 kilometers northwest of Herat. A Taliban government spokesman on Sunday provided the toll that, if confirmed, would make it one of the deadliest earthquakes to strike the country in 2 decades. With much of the world wary of dealing directly with the Taliban government and focused on the conflict between Israel and the Palestinians, Afghanistan hasn't received an immediate global response. There have been no planes of aid flying in, no specialists.
A senior Hamas official, Musa Abu Mazak, told Al Jazeera in a phone interview that the group is open to discussions over a possible truce with Israel. He said Hamas was open to something of that sort and all political dialogues when asked whether the Islamist group is willing to discuss a possible ceasefire. In the meanwhile, the Israeli military said it had called up an unprecedented 300,000 reservists and was imposing a total blockade of the Gaza Strip, a sign it may be planning a ground assault.
Israeli TV channels said the devastating weekend attack by Hamas gunmen caused the death toll to climb to 900. In Hamas-controlled Gaza, Israel has killed more than 500 people since last Saturday. According to Reuters, after hours of intense bombardment by Israeli jets, Hamas, the Islamist movement which controls Gaza, said it would execute an Israeli captive for every civilian house bombed without warning. Inside Israel, Hamas fighters were still holed up in several locations.
According to multiple reports, after sending its newest and most advanced aircraft carrier and the accompanying warships in its strike group to the eastern Mediterranean in a show of strength and support for Israel amid its war with Hamas, the U.S. is considering sending a second aircraft carrier into the area. U.S. defense official told the Wall Street Journal on Tuesday the USS Dwight D. Eisenhower and its escort could join the USS Gerald R. Ford carrier strike group in waters near Israel in the coming weeks.
In response to the attack by Hamas, the U.S. moved its newest and most advanced aircraft carrier, USS Gerald R. Ford, into waters near Israel. VOA News reported the Ford had arrived in the eastern part of the waterway as of Tuesday afternoon. The Eisenhower is already set to head to the Middle East this week for a deployment that was planned months ago. If the Eisenhower does join the Ford, it'll be the first time 2 carriers were deployed in the area since March 2020.
The Bank of Israel on Monday announced it will sell up to $30 billion in foreign reserves in a bid to support its domestic currency, which has fallen sharply following the deadly incursion by Hamas militant over the weekend. The Israeli shekel last weakened 1.63% to trade at 3.90 against the greenback, marking its weakest in 7 years. On top of the $30 billion program, the bank added it will provide liquidity to the market through swap mechanisms in the market of up to $15 billion.
Former deputy governor at the Bank of Israel Zvi Eckstein told CNBC, unless there is an Iranian physical attack, it's very likely that Israel will get back to fully functioning economically within a week or 2. Eckstein added, the Israel currency will be a bit devalued because both Israelis and foreigners are going to reduce their exposure to Israel as the risk of Israel as an economy goes up. At dawn on Saturday during a major Jewish holiday, Palestinian militant group Hamas launched a multi-pronged infiltration into Israel.
A Harvard University professor, Claudia Goldin, was awarded the Nobel Economic Prize on Monday for research that helps explain why women around the world are less likely than men to work and to earn less money when they do. Goldin, 77, found the gap resulted from decisions that women made about their prospects in the job market and about their families' personal circumstances. Some women underestimated their employment opportunities. Others felt overwhelmed by responsibilities at home.
Only about half the world's women have paid jobs, in contrast to 80% of men. In addition, a persistent pay gap, women in advanced economies earn, on average, about 13% less than men, discourages women from pursuing jobs or continuing their education to qualify for more advanced job opportunities. Goldin noted, women are now more educated than men. And we realize that these differences are really reflections of what happens within individuals' homes, and they're an interaction between what happens in the home and what happens in the labor market.
The answer for October 6th was B, perpetrating. Federal soldiers have been accused of perpetrating aristocrats against innocent people. Did you answer correctly? Now let's delve into the news of Taiwan president says peace only option. Number 1, assert, 断言, 肯定地说. He asserts that she stole money from him. Number 2, indispensable, 必不可少的,必须的. This book is an indispensable resource for researchers. Number 3, reiterate, 反复地说,重申. The government has reiterated its refusal to compromise with terrorists. Now we have a multiple choice question for everyone to practice. Which answer would you choose? You can write your answer in the comments section. The correct answer will be announced tomorrow. And that's all for today's Funday news. Be sure to tune into Funday news from Monday to Friday and click the link below to join Funday for free. I'm Wei Li, your host. I'll see you next time.